Let me talk to the elite. I mean the elite listeners. I want to talk to you. If you're an elite, please take your time and watch and listen to what I'm about to say. To be successful in life, it requires some 7 steps. It requires some 7 points. You cannot do without those 7 points. When we are mentioning some great people, those successful people in the world, in the past and even in the present day, none of them joke with these 7 points. They never joke with these 7 points. As an elite, there's need for you to know those points. There's need for you to know those points. Number 1, you need to be proactive. What do I mean by that? You don't react, you respond. You take responsibility of your action. And you focus on circle of influence and also circle of concern. What do I mean by circle on influence? Circle of influence simply means there are those things that you can control. Things that you can control. What are those things that you can control? You can control your mood. You can control your personal health. You can control your habits. You can control your action and reaction. You can control your work-life balance. And also you can control your choice of work. But when we are talking about circle of concern, there are those things that you can control. Those things you cannot control. You cannot control weather. You cannot control politics. You cannot control other actions. You can't control economics and people's judgment. All those things, all these are needed to be proactive. Let's go to the second point. The second point, begin with end in mind. Begin with END in mind. What do I mean by that? You need to have a clear vision of your future and your goals in your mind. You need to write them down. You need to write your personal mission statement. You need to write them down. When you write them down, then you ask yourself some questions. These are the questions you need to ask yourself. You need to ask yourself, what do I want to be? That means your character. You need to ask yourself, what do I want to achieve? That is your contribution and achievement. You need to ask yourself, what are my principles and my values? Those are those foundations for your action. All these things are needed when you begin with end in mind. The third point, put first thing first. I said, put first thing first. First thing, you put it first. There's something we were taught when I was in school, in the secondary school, we were taught scale of preference based on their importance. Put first thing first. What do I mean by that? You learn time and self-management. You prioritize your task on basis of importance and urgency. There is difference between importance and urgency. Something may be important, and as it is important, it may be urgent or not urgent. Something may not be important, but it may be urgent or not urgent. When something is important and urgent, that means it is very urgent. You need to act on it as a matter of urgency. This kind of things, you need to try to keep this box empty. You have to make sure you are available to treat it as a matter of urgency. When something is important but not urgent, what should we do? You need to make time for it. Useful and valuable work. You make time for it. When something is not important but urgent, what are you going to do? You need to find someone for whom it matters. You find someone for whom it matters. But when something is not important and at the same time not urgent, what do? That means it is pointless. It is time wasting. In that case, it is need to be discarded. All these things are very important when you put first thing first. The fourth point I say is think win-win. You have to think win-win. What do I mean by that? You seek mutually beneficial solution and agreement in your relationship. You need to have an abundant mentality. When you think win-win, there must be mutual beneficial solution or agreement in your relationship. And there are 4 points. First step that is very important when you think win-win. What are those steps? You need to put yourself in the other person's shoe. You need to put yourself in the other person's shoes. You need to identify the key issues and concern. You need to identify the outcome that will be fully mutually beneficial. And you need to think of new options and possibilities to make things happen. These 4 steps are very, very important when you think win-win. Let's go to the 5th point. Seek first to understand than to be understood. When you understand yourself, you will be understood. Seek first to understand than to be understood. What do I mean by that? Practice empathetic listening with the intent to understand, both emotionally and intellectually, rather than to respond. When you listen carefully, you understand. When you understand, you will be able to respond. You'll be able to answer. And your answer will really show that you understood. Let's go to the 6th point. I call it synergize. I call it synergize. What do I mean by synergize? You need to value differences. You value differences. You need to be courageous and be open to what others have to say. Harness to the strength of team member to achieve collective success, which means success is not achieved alone. When you say, "Oh, I'm successful, I achieve it all," there must be your team member that aid that your success. That is why I say, in relationship, woe is more than the sum of its parts. Woe is more than the sum of its parts, which means 1 + 1 = 2. 1 as the sum of its parts can never be more or greater than the whole number. 1 and 1 is equal to 1 from the sum of its parts cannot be fully bold. That is greater than 2. Never. I hope you understand that. The last point. I call it sharpen the saw. Sharpen the saw. What do I mean by that? There's something I used to tell my people. I do tell them that if I am given 8 years to cut down a tree, I will use 6 years to prepare. Then I will use the rest 2 years to cut down the tree. Which means preparation is very, very important. If you don't prepare before you appear, automatically such person will be disappear. Sharpen the saw simply means when you see continuous self-renewal and self-improvement. don't burn out. Exercise the four motivations of our nature regularly and consistently in wise and balanced way. What do I mean by motivations of our nature? There are some four motivations of our nature, which are our mental, our physical, our emotional, and spiritual. All these four needs to be exercised regularly and consistently in wise and balanced way. Without this, we cannot sharpen our saw. All these 7 points that I itemize are very, very important to be successful in life. As a good listener, as a good light, you need to put this thing in mind and follow up and follow through. This is 2025. By now, every one of us should have set our goal and use these 7 points to back it up. And I'm sure you end up being happy. You end up as successful. Please share this video, share these thoughts, let other people also benefit. I remain Femi Manuel. Thank you very much.